There we go. We are live. Excellent. All right, so we're here. Whoop. I don't know what I just clicked. If I just clicked something, I did. Okay, well, I know nobody out there has ever seen you before.
Probably not.
Why don't you tell them who you are?
All right, my name is Bobby Gray. I am representing here in the second draft meeting for the NEC. I'm representing NEC, the National Electrical Contractors Association, and I'll be starting Code Making Panel 5 on Monday. So,
Oh, you're on 5 as well.
I am.
Oh, there's a public comment that was put in and was about the ground fault return path, clearing a breaker or in a fuse in the instantaneous region or short time delay. Do you know what the task group did with that?
I don't know. My task group is for equipment grounding conductors. So,
Oh, okay.
and so we're dealing with 250, 122 primarily. So.
Excellent. Oh, yeah, that's 250.122. And then 250.4 was where that public, and that was, that was, what's his name? Oh, that's not first draft. Public comment. So what we were going to do today, about the first week, I was on panel 2, you were on panel 18.
18, correct.
And I watched a little bit of that yesterday. You guys finished up. You finished up yesterday.
We did. We finished in 2 days. We ran a little bit late yesterday, but we got it all finished. So
Yeah.
We're actually scheduled for today also, but we made it in 2 days.
Yeah, that happened to, we were scheduled, panel 2 was scheduled to finish on Thursday, I think it was. And we finished Thursday morning early. We had just we were doing, Annex D, example calculations.
Oh, yeah.
And we finished that up, so that's not too bad. But, so what was any big controversy on panel 18?
Really, there was only one that I can remember, and it had to do with the limited power folks, primarily from Cisco, where they have a bit of a challenge in limiting the branch circuit for some of their equipment to only 20 amps. So they've been trying a couple cycles actually to try to somehow figure out how to resolve that, as well as reducing the conductor sizes to terminate, because their terminations won't accept those larger wires. So,
Oh, yeah.
so that's a bit of a challenge. They've got some language that was able to get through the panel, so hopefully they'll get where they need to be, and we'll see that it gets through the rest of the cycle.
Okay, so they did get, I know they were focusing, when I was there, was 411.8. I think it was 411.8 branch circuit.
That's correct.
Did they, now, when I look at Terra, it doesn't show, it just says lighting systems covered by this article shall be supplied from a maximum of 20 amp branch circuit, but I know they were looking for something more.
Well, right. That's the existing language that came from what's been in there for a while. But what they need is they need to be able to go to at least 30 amps branch circuits.
And that's on a class 2 power supply.
Well, it's the primary side of their equipment, so the class 2 side would be on the secondary.
Okay.
So that's where they're struggling. So they're trying to do something that would be similar to what's allowed over in Chapter 7, 725 for Class 2 and Class 3 circuits. So somehow they're trying to get that information over into Chapter 4, into Article 411, to be able to get them where they need to go. So.
Brian Rock says, hi, Tom and Bobby.
Hey, Brian, good to hear from you.
Good to hear from you, brother. We missed you this, I told Brian was my alternate on panel 2.
Yeah?
And Frank Say I think Frank Say's now with Hubble as well.
Yeah, he was Leventon.
Yeah, he was Leventon, yeah. And after every second revision, Brian, me and Frank would hug. So I never could get Brian to do that.
No,
so.
Brian's not a hugger.
He's not a hugger, yeah.
He and I served on 17 together, I think.
Okay.
A few cycles ago.
Yeah. Now so let's talk about that class 2. So right now the it talks about branch circuits, lighting systems. So this is in 411.
Correct.
Lighting systems covered by this article shall be supplied from a maximum 20 ampere branch circuit. They wanted to add, and I know they took 411.8. They wanted to change the title, and then they wanted to split it so you had a class 2 power supply and then a non-power limited power supply.
Correct.
They wanted the 20 amp on the non-limited.
Existing, yeah.
That's the existing. So that would be a non-power limited circuit supply. And then they wanted the power limited to be on a larger branch circuit.
That's correct.
Now, would that be, so let me ask you. Wait, Brian's got some stuff going on. What's he got going on? It says, what do you mean no one will know, Bobby? So why don't you introduce yourself? He's known
I'm
you
infamous, huh, Brian?
He's infamous. Well, I shouldn't have said nobody because there are probably a lot of people on my
I have
channel.
fans.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully nobody of the police persuasion.
No.
Yeah. So, okay, so let me ask you. So we had this discussion at lunch today. I was talking to Jerry O'Connor, and Tim McClintock was sitting behind me.
Mm-hmm.
And a power limited power supply, the class 2 power supply, power limited, does that do overcurrent protection?
Well, they have, according to them, and I'm not an expert in this, so I'm speaking from a position of ignorance, but
well, that's okay.
but they have, I'm told, internal overcurrent protection into their equipment.
Yeah.
Now, so Jerry's argument would be, well, that would make the supply a feeder then, not a branch circuit. But it's my opinion that overcurrent protection would be supplemental overprotection, similar to what you might have in a luminaire where you'd have an inline fuse or something. And so that would not be a circuit overcurrent protective device, and therefore those would still be considered branch circuit conductors. Now, certainly Tim is a lot smarter on this stuff than I am, but
here's the thing. So here's the thing. Panel 10 just changed the definition from branch circuit overcurrent protective device to just overcurrent protective device. And then we're adding a new section that says these are the following overcurrent protective devices that can meet what an overcurrent device is, because we don't want a supplemental to be confused. So I agree with you. That is a branch circuit.
Yeah.
It's still a branch circuit because that wouldn't be listed to UL 489. It's not a fuse.
Correct.
So it would be supplemental.
Well, that's what I would think. Now, I suppose
you.
it'll be tested and we'll know eventually, but that would be my impression on it.
Yeah.
So.
No, I'm with you on there. I wasn't yesterday. Because me and Tim were going back and forth, and I tell you what, there is nothing more frustrating than watching a group of individuals going back and forth, and it's like watching a football game. I told Tim, I says, I'm going to go up to the room, I'm going to grab that fifth of scotch, and I'm going to come down here, and we're going to watch this like we're watching a football game, because it was frustrating.
Yeah.
It was entertaining and frustrating because you want to just stand up and go, wait a second, I got an idea, but you can't.
Right.
You can't.
Yep.
But I tell you what, that's what a lot of people out there. So Brian is saying more like internal thermal protection.
Right. Yeah.
And that's a good point. That's a valid point. But I learned so much listening to the dialogue. Even sitting around the wall. I used to sit around the walls listening to Panel 10, 13 argue, Panel 2 argue, and Panel 1. Yeah. There's so much going on in Panel 1 now. They've been struggling, or they added a new did you see the new definition for outlet?
No. I heard that they had one.
So I had to, and this is what happens. You go to lunch with a bunch of code geeks.
Oh, yeah.
And then we argue, right? And we talk about it. Now, the argument that was made at lunch today, which I'm thinking...
I missed that. I should have come down.
You should have come down.
I was watching Alabama and Tennessee play football.
Oh, is that right? we went to BJ's.
Okay.
We went to BJ's, and they had the game up, so you could have...
I could have, yeah.
You could have come and participated in... so here's outlet. So here's what they did. They said a point on the wiring system where the branch circuit conductors are connected to utilization equipment.
Okay.
Now, So the word going around in the hallways was, oh, now a receptacle outlet's no longer an outlet, right? But a receptacle outlet is a defined term.
It is.
And so is a lighting outlet.
Right.
What other outlets would we have?
I don't know.
That wouldn't be equipment.
So they're expanding it so that you could hardwire something, and the branch circuits would then be at the termination of the utilization equipment. Is that what
Yeah,
the ultimate?
that's the ultimate. So, and I think what's driving that is the whole debate on, is the HVAC unit, where's the outlet?
Right.
Is the outlet on the AC disconnect? Is the outlet inside the equipment? And that's David Engelhart. David Englehart's on. What's he saying? Greetings, Bama and Tennessee are Bama and Tennessee are still scoreless after the first quarter.
That's a good game.
Yeah, you know why? David? We told them don't score until we're done. And I'm at 77% battery, so they got about an hour, I think. These guys are good. So so a point in the wiring system where branch circuit. So then I looked at outlet light. That's outline.
I think that'll make that even worse for those limited power guys.
Oh,
Right, because what they're trying to make an argument that the conductors, a branch circuit, goes to some sort of a lighting outlet, and then they can go from smaller wire from that lighting outlet into their equipment. But now with this change, it'll go all the way to the equipment, right?
That'll go all the way to the equipment.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. I think ultimately what's going to happen, just to finish up that discussion on those guys, I think what ultimately will happen is they'll be able to do what they need to do, but over in Chapter 7.
Yeah.
Where they can take advantage of some of the other limited power stuff in there.
That's
and
right.
exceptions that are in there that are allowed to happen
Yeah.
in Chapters 5 through 7.
And I think you guys pointed over to 725 at one point.
Well, that's what they did. That was what they tried to do. Now, we'll see if that flies.
Yeah.
But that, I don't know how that's going to work out, because now what you're doing is you're bringing in those exceptions that are permitted in Chapters 5 through 7
Oh, that's right.
into Chapter 4. So,
Yeah, that's
I don't know.
right.
You're talking about Tim McClintock. He thinks that's okay.
Okay.
But I'm not convinced. I guess we'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be an interesting.
Time will tell, because we
Yeah.
still got to go through ballot.
Yeah.
So it's got to get through ballot,
Right.
and then it's got to get through NITMAMS.
Yeah.
And some people were out, I love this. Everybody's like, oh, what do you think the NITMAMS are going to be on?
Yeah.
Because we just finished up on these different panels, and they were talking about NITMAMS. Somebody made the comment that outlet is probably going to get NITMAMmed. Because they don't like that definition. But
we got to hope there's at least one, so there's a reason to have a meeting, right, in Las
exactly
Vegas.
right.
So.
That's exactly right. So put that NITMAM in, whether it passes or
right.
not, I don't care. It gives us a reason to fly.
That's right.
Oh my gosh, that's right. It's going to be in Vegas.
Yeah.
And anybody can come. So here's the thing: if you want to vote from the floor, you got to get your membership now before December, because you have to be a member for 6 months or longer to be able to vote from the floor. And I just noticed my power supply is not plugged in, and I don't want to lose my, give me a second, there it is. I don't want to lose my my camera because I didn't have my battery plugged
I see
in.
your primary spot got taken over by a wedding or something
Yeah,
in the lobby there.
Yeah. Oh, here's the other thing is they've got music going on. And when you're streaming on YouTube, you can't have the music going on. Oh, wait, here we go. What do we got going on? Brian says, Code Geeks, I prefer intellectual code badasses. Oh, my gosh. You can tell he's retired. You can tell he's
got
retired.
time on his hands, doesn't he?
Yep. And then, well, they're talking to each other. Brian is saying, hey, David, and then, okay, David. All right, so I know outlet was causing some people to
well, that's minor for code making panel 1, if that's the only controversy they.
I know. So here's the other thing they did this week. 110, which electrical workers out there should be very happy, because in 110.16, they made some changes. Oh, Felix Sandoval, we got Colombia, South America online. Thank you, Felix, for joining in, buddy. And he says, Thomas Dimitrovich and guest, how are you? So I know Felix probably doesn't know you, Bobby Gray.
Well, he may not, but I've done a lot of work in Colombia.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Oh, what do you do down there?
I teach for NFPA.
Oh,
I taught code.
nice.
We haven't been down there in a while because they've got their own instructors down there. NFPA.
Yeah.
Got some Spanish-speaking instructors. But yeah, I spent a lot of time in Bogota and Cartagena.
Oh, yeah. I was just in Bogota.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, Felix came to Bogota.
Yeah.
And it was the IEEE Electrical Safety Workshop, and we were talking. Nihad El Sharif and I do a basic safety awareness, and then we did a presentation on conflicting design goals. You know, like even with the code. You know, the code has, say, selective coordination, which will increase incident energy, but you can accommodate that. 24087, 24067
Right.
can address that. That was Jimmy Dollard put that in, Local 98. And then you have the transformer protection. You can have high energy on the secondary of a transformer. So
Sure.
we basically presented all these different scenarios where, and then you have the cost.
Yeah.
Right. So that's always a tough one. But yep, Jerry O'Connor is out there. He went to the store. We had lunch together. Jerry, I was just telling him we were arguing and debating at lunch on all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. I missed it, Jerry.
Yeah.
Should have called me.
Yeah. He needed backup because I was beating him up. You know, I'm like, why didn't you say this and why didn't you say that? So 110.16, here's what they did. Here's what they're doing. First draft, I thought they were going to make more changes after first draft, but they say, in other than dwelling units, a permanent arc flash marking shall be field or factory applied to service equipment and feeder supplied equipment, such as switchboard, switchgear, enclosed panel boards, industrial control panels, meter socket enclosures, and motor control centers. That's pretty much everything.
Yeah.
The marking shall meet the requirements of 110.21b, which is just for resiliency, be located so it's clearly visible to the qualified persons and in accordance with applicable standards. You have to have the voltage, arc flash boundary, available incident energy, so you could use the PPE category method, or you can use the calculation method, and then the date.
So it just really is mirroring what's in 70E.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So now we have, when I went back to 1992, there were public inputs and comments, and it was Ralph Lee,
Yeah.
I think it was. He put public inputs in to do this,
Yeah.
and they elected to do just that, general hazard.
Right.
And we lived with that for quite some time, and then we went to adding 110.16b, and then finally they're doing this, and I think that's a big change.
Yeah, it's a huge. I mean, they've expanded it. It was just service equipment rated 1,200
Yep.
amps or more.
Yeah,
So.
and
Big
remember,
change.
it was only, they had you just put the voltage. So in the 2020 cycle, it was the voltage, the available fault current. It was the stuff that was needed for the PPE category method. Voltage, available fault current,
Clearing time.
the clearing time, yeah, and then the date. But then they took that off, and then they just said no, just for follow an industry practice. And now, and you still had the 110.16a,
Which implied you go to 70E.
70E,
Yeah.
exactly. And now they do, and now they just got rid of 110.16a because they're like, okay, you're just going to label everything with an energy value. So that makes
How
a big
about
difference.
in panel 1? What about the servicing and maintenance discussion? How did that turn out?
Oh, maintenance. So, that's true. What section is that one? That was 110.15.
Was it 27? Is that where it was?
Yeah, let's take a look. 110.24.
Maybe it was-
25 is lockable disconnecting means. I gotta hit refresh here because I'm getting 110, chapter 1, 110. 110.25 is lockable. 27 is guarding live parts in sight from. Working space. Where's it at? There's marking the reconditioned equipment. We're looking at
Here
servicing,
it
right?
is, 17.
Oh, 110.17, yeah. Ooh, look at this. Okay, let's do that, and let's do that. So we got servicing. They got rid of the maintenance.
Okay.
So they left servicing. Servicing shall be performed by qualified persons. And then they separated in 1 and 2. 1 is servicing shall be performed in accordance with original equipment. And then 2 is servicing shall be performed using identified replacement parts. So they didn't do much.
No.
They just reorganized it.
Well, they got rid of maintenance, so.
Yeah.
And I think that was a problem, right? Where we've traditionally, and of course those lines are getting blurred. You talked a lot about, you're in Columbia talking about engineering, right?
Absolutely, yep.
So historically, the code has not been an engineering document or a design document or a maintenance document. So
yeah, that's why you got 70B.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So now things are getting a little bit blurred in there as it evolves, and of course, what's going on in 2029, it's going to evolve tremendously.
Wait till that unfolds, because everything is going to get shifted around, which I don't know that it's. So I am indifferent to it.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's going to help or hurt. I know anybody who teaches has a huge opportunity,
right?
Because there's going to be a need to explain this whole layout.
Well, that's one side of it. The other side of it, those of us been using the code since 1976.
I got to memorize new section numbers.
I'm not sure I'm able to do that. So.
Oh man, well, we can teach people new tricks, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know.
That is going to be the toughest part, but like you say, it's the opportunity is there, I guess. I mean, sometimes you got to look at the positive side. Remember what they say. My mom taught me this. Accept what you can't change, change what you can, and know the difference between the two.
That's right.
Absolutely. So 110, but listen to all the sirens. They're coming after you, Felix. Yeah. 110.14, that's the whole copper-clad aluminum discussions.
Oh, yeah.
And
that's
I know.
That's going to go on, too.
When's panel 6 meet?
Panel 6 is at the end of the week, I think. So I think
Okay.
they start on Wednesday, maybe, or Thursday.
Same time that panel 10's going on?
Yeah.
Thank God, because I don't even want to walk in that room. There's the 110.16. We already talked about servicing. Wow, listen to that, huh? Don't they know we're going live? Let's see what we got. Robert says, Robert from Omaha, gotta watch Tom. The last time he thought he bought lunch was at the fire sample booth at Costco. The free sample booth. Yeah, and I'll tell you what, Robert, because Jerry O'Connor said he made me buy lunch. All right, so what is, Robert, what's Brian say? When you have a whip supplied with an HVAC condenser unit or a heat pump versus a field-installed whip, which end of the whip is the outlet?
Good question. Huh?
Wow, that is a good question.
Yeah.
Well, but you know what, Brian? So here's the thing. Here's what I think. And he put it in the very last portion of his statement. He said, it makes a difference on where GFCI protects. So if you put it upstream, whether it be in a wiring device or it's in the breaker, you're protecting the outside circuit. You would have to argue and say, that's going to change where I put the overcurrent, where I put the GFCI. And I don't know that they're going to put a device outside in the HVAC unit. I just don't see that happening, because what he's saying is when you redefine an outlet and we say that the outlet has to have GFCI protection, I could then put the GFCI in a different location, which I don't know if that's going to happen.
Yeah, and I'm not sure that's stated correctly anyway, because the GFCI device is for personnel protection. So,
right.
So, I think the better language would be if the branch circuit has to provide ground fault protection. For personnel. So, but anyway, that's still interesting, isn't it? Because the GFCI would not be. I guess unless it's a circuit breaker, but if it's a receptacle, it's not going to be based on that new definition it may be, but I don't consider it a circuit overcurrent protective device. It's not protecting the circuit.
Right, it's just protecting what's plugged in or what's downstream.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that's so we had this debate on panel 2 about appliances. So the appliance guys, what they want to do is we want to move, not the appliance guys, it's like, I think the Core Lane Committee thinks that there's an issue with conflict between the 210.8D, where we have GFCI protection for circuits that supply a list of appliances. In 422, for appliances, they have GFCI protection for appliances. But what 422 did, and it started when they made the GFCI protection for a vending machine.
Right.
They said, okay, they
Brian and I were involved in that.
Oh, were you? Yeah.
That was,
so
that was a 17 thing.
So for vending machines that crush the supply cable makes a difference. So what they did was they said, okay, you have to put it in the vending machine, and then the vending machine standard changed, and then panel 2 said GFCIs have to be readily accessible. Yeah. So now you have a vending machine with a GFCI in the cord, and it's behind the vending machine, so it's not readily accessible. So then what they did in 422 is they said, oh, now we're going to make it optional. You can put it in the cord, you can put it in the appliance, or you can put it in the branch circuit.
Yes.
And I think the moment they did that, they outstepped their bounds.
Yes.
Because 210.8 handles the branch circuit, and we use the appliance to identify which branch circuits, just like we say for receptacles. If a receptacle is in this location, you have to GFCI protect it. It's for personnel, not to protect the appliance.
Right.
So my position was, and still is, that if 422 wants to put GFCI in that appliance, then they put it in 422.
Yeah.
And it's going back and forth. So what we did this cycle was, panel 2 says in 210.8, look, we want it in the branch circuit for any of the appliances that are identified in 422.5, and we're going to let 422 decide what are the appliances.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the way it's supposed to be, but that's the way it is.
Yeah, the difficulty with that is things move around, right? So if you, and it was, I think a lot of that came from the appliance manufacturers too. They wanted us to put in GFCIs in the branch circuits to protect from liability of their equipment.
Exactly.
Right? So,
end of life.
Yeah. But things move. So now you put it in the branch circuit, you take that same appliance and you put it someplace that wasn't required to have GFCI protection.
Right.
Now you've got the same hazard. So.
Yes. And so what I was telling Jeff Sargent was that there's a place for both. What's in 422 protects an appliance that moves into any structure. What is in 210.8D establishes any new structure has GFCI in the branch circuit. So you're covered with any vintage of appliance. Right. And then the argument was, well, wait a second. I can have GFCI in the appliance and GFCI in the branch circuit. And I said, well, so? Oh, we can't have that. Like, well,
yeah, you guys know that better than I do, but I get that question a lot in my training. Is there a problem when you have multiple GFCIs in the same circuit? And I said, no.
Exactly.
From a physics standpoint, one of them's going to trip faster than the other one, but it still accomplish the same purpose.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're not going to fight each other. So.
Right. And they're not going to, one's not going to say cancel out the other.
Right.
So, but, there's in our industry, well, that means I paid for an extra GFCI when I didn't have to. Well,
okay.
Yeah, okay. It was in the appliance when you bought it, so. But anyway, all right, so what do we got? We got Brian for vending machines. We already talked about that, crushing the cords. Robert from Omaha says, doesn't the protection of a branch circuit start at the point of origination? That starts at the breaker. Well, the point of protection for what? I mean, the point of protection for overcurrent, but for GFCI, I can put it at the breaker or I can put it at the receptacle. So I don't think...
Because once again, the purpose of the GFCI, and again, you guys know this better than I do, but the purpose of the GFCI is not to protect the circuit. That's what the circuit breaker is for.
Yeah.
The GFCI is to protect people by detecting when there is a fault, ground fault, and operating very quickly before the current has time to get high enough to cause a serious electric shock to an individual. So.
And that's why, you're absolutely right. It is there to protect personnel. It's not equipment protection, because if it was equipment protection, it would be GFPE.
That's right.
Yeah. And we got a Ron electrician saying hello. Hey, Ron. like the pick. At least we know what you look like. I don't know if your last name is actually electrician, or or if your last name is actually Ron and your first name is electrician. That would make it easy, wouldn't it?
Nickname Sparky.
Yeah, nickname Sparky. At Eaton, we had a person in our lab. We still have a person in our lab. His last name is Sparks. Sparky. Yeah. Yep. Sparks or Sparky, something like that. The language says. So Robert says. The language says to protect the circuit, though. Robert, you have to tell me what section you're talking about. Yeah, Felix says when the fire trucks, the goodness fire department is working. That is so true. That is so true.
If the circuit protection doesn't work, now we got the fire department
Yeah,
to back us up.
That's right. In assessing the risk of electrocution, you're not just protecting against shock hazards within the equipment, but there's a shock risk also at the wiring methods subject to physical damage. Yeah, he's right.
That's true.
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true. And yeah, so that was the other discussion we had. That brings up a good, in AFCI world. So we had a discussion around AFCIs about the journey. I keep saying so, and this is a pet peeve of mine, and I know I think people on panel 2 are starting to hate me for it. But we use rooms. We'll say, okay, the bedroom has to have AFCI protection. The circuit supplying the bedroom, the circuit supplying the living room, the dining room, the den, etc. And people will say, well, how many fires have occurred in the bathroom or in the bedroom or in the dining room? And it's not about that.
Right.
It's about the wire that goes from that breaker all the ways through the house,
right.
and presenting all those challenges from mice to different rodents to nails to screws and all that. And we use the rooms just to identify the branch circuit. And
because you don't have circuit breakers in the bathroom, so those conductors come from somewhere else in the house.
That is exactly right.
Yeah.
So we had that discussion, and understanding where the overcurrent, where the justification for putting an AFCI in any specific room.
Right.
And they say, oh well, you have to have fire statistics for that room, and I just get frustrated with that because, well, no, I don't need a fire statistic for that room. I need a fire statistics overall for the structures, and then I can provide protection, and I just keep, the journey is to expand that protection, but we just keep fighting that on panel 2. And I get it. I get that.
Well, I mean, of course, the argument from installers and home builders and stuff that it's going to increase it.
Yeah.
And it does significant.
Yeah, it is an increase.
You got to weigh that against the
value.
Right.
Yes. Now, watch this. Watch this. Thumbs up. I love this. I love this Stream Deck thing because I can move things around. All right, so we had GFCI discussion. And what we did in GFCI was we introduced a high frequency GFCI. Yes. So the challenge on GFCIs have been compatibility with products like variable frequency drives.
Yeah.
Where you have high frequencies on the equipment grounding conductor. And your typical GFCI is not going to discriminate between 60 hertz, 100 hertz, or whatnot. So what we needed was something in the standard to give us guidance to say, here's how you handle shock protection above for these higher frequencies.
Interesting.
So Fred Reyes from UL came up with a proposal and a way to bucket these higher frequencies so that we have algorithms now that we could live through higher frequency compatibility concerns. And there's an HF and an HF plus that's in the standards process right now.
Wow.
Manufacturers like myself, Schneider, ABB, etc., are all working on solutions already because we want to be ready for it.
You might want to look at the first draft of 70E in Article 340 because we're expanding that to deal with some of the higher frequency stuff. Yeah, RF and some other things in there too. So that'd be interesting to see how those two merge up if we're developing products to address that. That would be a good thing.
70E, I got to do a note. 70E, what chapter?
Article 340.
Article 340. Okay. I am definitely going to take a look at that. Yeah. Because so I found an old paper. Del Zeal, not Del Zeal. Yeah, Del Zeal.
Charles Zeal, yeah.
It was the D'Arsonval. D'Arsonval meter, I can't think of his first name, but D'Arsonval back in the late 1800s put, like, I don't know, 9 or 10 amps of high frequency current through his body.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, because this is when engineers were engineers,
That's
right? This is when
they were tough back
They
then,
were
right?
tough back then. They said, I have a theory. This is not going to kill me. I can just see it. Oh yeah, that'll kill you. No, it won't. Here, watch. And puts that voltage through them. But the high frequency currents won't penetrate the skin. It rides on the outside of the skin, and he proved that. And so he did it, and then there were like a few other people that tested these higher frequencies. But we won't do that today,
No, right.
And we won't even do it on animals today.
Yeah. That's why the Del Zeal research was so valuable to us today.
So I have been pronouncing his name wrong all this time.
Well,
it's
I
Del
may be.
Zeal.
I don't know. Del Zeal is what I've always said. So
Beelzebub. Beelzebub. Yes, I mean, just think about that. Hold on, 420. What's this one? So Brian says 422.585. The electrocution risk has occurred when someone doesn't get for what they paid and starts rocking the heavy vending machine and electrifies its frame. Absolutely, Brian. Absolutely. Or whenever your item gets stuck in there and you crawl inside to go get it.
There you go.
There's the other hazard. Oh, and Brian, you would have loved this discussion on panel 2. So we put an exception in for listed HVAC equipment, and I'd have to look at the exact language, but in 210.8. Here, Bobby, here was the discussion. The HVAC guys at the table said that in 2025 we're going to see a new refrigerant that if there's a leak and you lose power, they have fans inside to, I called it ventilate, but he said evacuate. They evacuate the system of this with this new refrigerant, and they evacuate it outside.
It's environmental friendly, I assume.
I'm hoping. I don't know. I mean, geez. Yeah. But here's the thing. They said if they interrupt power, it will evacuate into the house. It weighs heavier than air, and it's highly flammable.
Oh, wow.
And somebody mentioned it was like propane, but I think that's all farce. But they did say that it would cause an explosion in a home, and that was the justification for removing GFCI, because they said if it false trips, you have a greater hazard. Now, I don't know that that's true, but we put that in, and I have to do a lot of homework to really look and see what is, and the reason I say I'm not sure is because up on panel 11, someone brought it up to a panel 11 person who was involved with HVAC, and that person said it's not that bad. It's not as bad as what they were saying. But I don't know what this new system stuff is.
Well, I'm thinking the fire code and some of those other NFPA standards are going to have something to say about that as well.
Yeah, exactly right. So in the panel statement, we said we are removing GFCI protection for this equipment because loss of power to that equipment is a greater hazard. And that just scares the bejeebers out of me.
It's a tough argument, I would think.
I think it is. Now the other thing someone said, so you gotta love it. When they said that, I made the statement. I thought Dan Book from NAHB was going to have a heart coronary, but he was talking about. He says, well, if you lose power, and I said, well, wait a second. I can lose power for many different reasons. And if we're going to remove GFCI, because if I lose power, I create a greater hazard, what happens if I lose power because of a storm or something like that? I said, what you're justifying is a generator and an energy storage system on every dwelling unit.
That's right.
Dan Book went, what?
Speaking of raising the prices of houses,
oh
right?
My gosh, yeah. AFCI is the least of your worry. Yeah. And then Brian says, by exposed flex wiring method, pronounced Dayel, Instead of, we both got it wrong. Scottish.
There's a Z in there.
The Z is so it's DAILZ or whatever. So you don't pronounce the Z.
Scottish.
Okay.
Really?
So Dalziel.
Brian, you're just an encyclopedia for crying out loud. It's not fair to have one person have that much trivial knowledge.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. The new AC refrigerant is going to be flammable with the fire inspector's educational session. So it is said. That's right. So I'm telling you, this new refrigerant is scary.
Yeah.
And you know what, Brian? If there is something that I would love for you to research, and if you get your research done, if you want to go live to talk about it, I would love for you to take a look at that new refrigerant. I mean, use your brain on that one, because that scares the crap out of me, in my opinion. Brian says, think a letter that looks like a lowercase longhand Z, much like a lowercase. So it is like a Y. So man, we've both been saying it.
Yeah.
We've been both saying it wrong.
And unfortunately, he's passed away, Brian, so we can't go confirm it with him.
Yeah,
So.
well, I know if we go down to Louisiana, we might be able to get like one of those empaths or something. And electrician Ron says that's just a handle for his YouTube, or for his it's an easy to remember handle for his YouTube channel. So he's got a YouTube channel.
All right.
Good luck to you, buddy.
Yep.
And maybe one day when you graduate, you'll get this guy online too. Oh man! Oh, and then I have this to give me my latest. So there it is. Don't feel lonely. It scares me too. Yeah, David. I was, and you should have seen the faces on panel 2 when the HVAC guys. There's more than one. There's a Mitsubishi guy. There's a guy who does the installs, and the other guy's from ASHRAE, or he's AHAM. I can't remember. But in any case, they were all saying the same thing. And the appliance guy said they're putting it in appliances too, like refrigerators and freezers. They're going to be using that same stuff.
So what
scares
that
me.
does, just as a homeowner,
Yeah.
when they change that refrigerant, what happens is if you have one of your units fail, you got to replace the whole thing, because like Freon, when they went from Freon, if you had an old unit, you had to replace everything, the air handling unit and everything, because they weren't compatible with each other.
No. So the other thing they said was it runs at a higher pressure. Okay. So all of the fittings have to be changed. Like if they want to convert a system over, it's a lot more intrusive because of the I want to say wires or cables. It's not. It's the tubing. Right. The tubing is different, and all of the fittings are different. So I don't know a daggone thing about HVAC, I just know what was said made me nervous. I don't know how accurate it was, because we sort of worked on the fly. We didn't have data. We didn't have, in the public comment phase, we didn't have a substantiation. It was said at the table, and we reacted to it.
Yeah.
Which I think that's what the ballot and recirculation is all about, to say, okay, let's get to the bottom of it. Let's understand this. Is it as bad of a hazard as what people are saying? Or is it just being, sometimes, it's like, it'd be like, hey, I saw Bobby Gray and he twisted his ankle. And then someone else says, oh yeah, I heard that he broke his ankle. And then someone else says, yeah, his ankle was mauled and he cut his foot off.
He's in a wheelchair.
He's in a wheelchair and he's going to be an invalid for the rest of his life,
Yeah, it
and
could very well be true. But
oh man, you got What?
I'm trying to think of Jack's last name. He was the vice president of LeGrand. He's retired.
Wells.
Jack Wells.
Jack
Thank
Wells.
you.
Yeah.
It's bothering me when we talk about Bogota and Colombia.
Yeah.
When I went down there with Paul Dabrowski the first trip to Colombia.
Yeah.
And Jack says we have LeGrand had and I don't know if it's LeGrand anymore or not. Is it Pass and
Seymour? Yeah.
But anyway, they have a circuit breaker manufacturing plant in Bogota.
Oh,
he said,
cool.
would you like to tour it? I said, absolutely.
Yeah.
That was a fascinating tour to go through, because they do a lot of stuff by hand there that we probably would mass produce up here. But what an interesting tour that was, though. The plant manager took us through there. But yeah, that was...
I'll bet it was. Yeah, we have a plant in what is it? It's Dominican Republic.
Okay.
And we make like miniature AFCIs and GFC, all of our miniature breakers down there. And you're right. I mean, you look at those production lines, and they're putting the wires in, and they've got all the different things. You're like, this is it's so, to know that every one of those devices had somebody's hands on it, putting it together. It's like, wow.
They had their own testing laboratory and everything down there. It was
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was very interesting.
Yeah.
I thank Jack every time I see him. So
Yeah. I think I saw him. It was before COVID. It was the last time I saw him. Yeah, it was the last time I saw him. But all right. So HVAC, Brian, you have your marching orders. So get to work, buddy, and let me know when you're. He's back on the Dale Zeal again. Wait. He says actually. Dalziel. Dale did constantly confirm it while alive. He was prouder of being Scottish than Sean Connery. Oh, man.
There you go. So Wednesday
go.
night, trivia night at the brewery, Brian. Show up there.
Yeah, that's right. Show up. Yeah. Man, oh, day. Well, you know what? Somebody told me that there were some changes in qualified person. Was that the definition of qualified person that was changing?
Yeah, that was a heated discussion we had over the fire last night at the campfire.
That's what I want to look at, is because who was it? It was
Ryan Jackson.
Ryan Jackson. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh my goodness. So I have to look at what is. In fact, I started talking to Vicky because I'm like LMNOPQ. Qualified PQR. Geez, oh man. There it is, qualified person. Let's see what they did. All right, here we go. One who has skills and knowledge related to the construction, operation, and installation of electrical equipment, and has received safety training to recognize and avoid the hazards involved. I don't know that they added, operation is there, so installation is there.
So they just reformatted
it.
But the discussion last night was about where you should require qualified persons. And I think Ryan was saying, look, put it in 110, say everything that has to be installed according to the code needs to be installed by a qualified person.
Right.
And but instead what they're doing is they're putting it in 701, they're putting it in different places in the code. And his argument says, look, it's not in Article 430. So anybody can, technically, anybody can go put in a 480 volt
and not be qualified
100 horsepower motor and wire it up according to the code, but they couldn't put in a doorbell. Because back in Chapter 7, it says you got to be qualified to put in Class 2, Class 3 circuits.
Okay, that was the gist of the argument.
Yes. Now, that logically, that makes a lot of sense. He says if you put it in the beginning, he could support it. Then it would cover everything in there, but you can't pick and choose stuff, because if you compare the hazards and the risk between those two examples, it doesn't make any sense at all.
So there's nothing in 110 that says the installation of everything per the code needs to be performed by a qualified person.
Yeah, evidently.
Wow.
I can't think of anything.
Where would you put it? I would. You know what? We can solve this problem. I should have brought some scotch. Should have brought some scotch. We can solve it right here.
Absolutely.
You figure part 1 is general. That's where you'd want it, in general requirements.
Sure.
Yeah. And I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. These are all sequential. There's no spots. 25 and then 26 is part 2. So you'd have to shift everything. That's why there's nothing in there, because nobody wants to shift all the numbers in 110. There's a lot of work in that.
Yeah, one of the things that I do is I contract as an HJ for federal
really?
operations. Yeah, so in 2006, the Department of Energy codified NFPA 70E and the NEC, so that all of their sites now the contractors have to follow those two documents.
Gotcha.
And so when they did that, they didn't have an infrastructure for having a code compliance program because they weren't obligated to follow it prior to that.
Right.
So what I do now is I contract with those contractors to provide that service to those folks. But one of the things I do is ensure that anything that's being done that is subject to an inspection to the code is done by a qualified person.
Interesting. Okay.
Now, it's not in there, but my argument is, look, if it's got to be inspected and approved.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on live right now. You want to go live?
Oh, absolutely.
Are you finished?
Yeah.
Are you?
Yeah.
Thank you, Bobby.
Good. How are you? Yeah.
Excellent. Good to see you. Yeah, look, we're live right now. We've got a bunch of people. We got all these. Got David Englehart in the house. We got Brian Rock talking.
Wow.
Yeah. We got Brian Rock. There he is, Mr. Germany himself.
Guys, have fun.
All right. Good seeing you. What panel? When
He's
you
11.
You're on 11. You're on 11.
Yeah.
But you finished, right?
Yeah.
So you
Finished 11.
Yeah.
And then so when you go back to Germany?
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Oh man! So tonight's our last hoorah. Exactly.
Last chance to go to Disneyland.
Wunderbar. Hey, we'll see you at the bar. Beer's on you.
He probably doesn't drink our beer.
Oh, he does.
Does he from Germany?
Oh, he can drink beer. I'm
Oh,
telling you.
yeah.
Man.
Well, he practiced.
He practices. All those Germans know how to drink their beer, man. So what else? So I can't remember. Oh, we were talking about qualified person. Willie Snyder's on. Felix. Willie's the one who's causing all this outlet stuff going on. Oh, wait, hold on. Brian Rock says, an assignment? Once we relocate soon from Madison, Connecticut to Sebastian, Florida, one moving pods between Connecticut and Florida, second one in driveway letting packed up aspirationally and soon perspirationally. Yep. Oh my gosh. What's this? We've got more people than thumbs up. What happens? That's the truth. Come on, we need more thumbs up. I don't think it'll do this automatically. I think I got to press that button. Press the thumbs up, hit the like button, all that good stuff. Excellent. All right, so qualified person, very critical, and I think it would go in 110. I don't think it's an Article 90 thing. It's a 110 thing.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, it probably is a 110 thing. Yeah, that's a good point, though. But yeah, I don't think it belongs in Article 90.
Yeah. And Willie's saying thanks for the props on 625. Oh yeah, we had a program, so that's another big debate. In 625, they want to do. There's a gentleman who has two issues. One is the reverse power feed through a GFCI, which we don't have a standard change for. We need a standard change to address reverse power through a GFCI.
Because of the not bipolar.
I'm bipolar, so.
the cars that have the
Yeah, bidirectional.
bidirectional.
Yeah, and then if they're plugged into a circuit that is required to have GFCI, and now you're going to power the house, you're going to
good question.
You're going to pop the GFCI.
Yeah,
So
that is interesting.
yeah, and so 625 did some things in that regard, Willie. They completed their work. And then the other thing, while I'm looking that up, the other thing that this gentleman had was in 627, I introduced 627 because we had our marina power people had customers wanting electric boat chargers in a marina.
Nice.
And so then they called me and said, what are the requirements for charging a boat in a marina? And I was like, well, 625, it's electric vehicle. But when you look at the definition of electric vehicle, it's what drives on a road.
Yeah.
So we didn't have any requirements. So I said, I worked with some of the guys at UL, and we created 627, and we titled it Electric Self-Propelled Vehicle Power Transfer Systems. So that would cover farm
Everything,
equipment,
yeah.
everything, right? Because they pointed out that, farm equipment, there's tractors. John Deere's making tractors now
Sure.
that are battery powered. So now this guy comes along and says, hey, I have a trailer. And it has energy storage on it, but it's not self-propelled. It's pulled.
Yeah.
Oh my
Interesting.
gosh. I'm like, that is, I never even thought about
Yeah,
that.
that's the challenges that we're going to
Yeah.
be facing here soon, right? We kind of got lazy and complacent over the last 40 years, but now we got to get on the ball, don't we?
You are absolutely right. So let's take a look at what 625 did with, and Willie, what section was that? 625.54. There's 48. Let's see what they did. All receptacles and outlets installed for the connection of electric vehicle charging shall have ground fault circuit interrupter protection for personnel. So I don't know if this is updated. No, they didn't. The use of okay. So I don't have the actual language, but the committee statement says in 625.54A2 and in B, the use of a special purpose GFCI was expanded to receptacles and outlets greater than 150 volts to ground and installed for EVSE. 625.54B, they have a January 1st, 2029 date that allows the industry time to develop technology for power export and GFCI protection. And they added for DC charging an exception, and they added a bidirectional charging for exception. So they're addressing the needs, but I don't have the final language. It's not loaded in the Terra yet. So they did make changes around that, and that bidirectional is a big issue.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see that, yeah.
Yeah, but I think somebody told me that the exception for bidirectional is for when it's outside.
Oh, not
So
in
it-
your garage, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, what? So and then someone made the statement. They said, well, you have the exception for outside, but you don't have it for in the garage. And they said, well, who would charge their electric vehicle when it's in the garage? And I was like, wait, is that you're being facetious, right?
I know one person that does.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but the good thing is, Mr. Snyder, I think that they're addressing that concern. So there's a lot of good
Have they
stuff
met
happening
yet?
over there. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they met. They were done. Oh, man, let's take a look. Take a look at what the schedules were for second draft. That's all first draft, second draft. Phew. Second draft meeting notices. There it is. Panel 14 met Monday through
Okay.
Thursday, just like panel 2 did.
Okay.
Yeah, so they were both going on at the same time. There's your panel 5, Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
You think you're going to go all 4 days?
No.
No. You'll be done Monday?
No, we won't be done Monday, but my guess is we won't take longer than 3 days, I think, probably.
Oh, that's not too bad.
No.
That's not too bad at all.
I think we have 200 comments, I
That's
think.
all right.
But a lot of them were the correlating committee comments. So,
Who's your chair?
Scott Harding.
That's right. I might ask Scott for just 2 seconds to address that one public comment, because I don't know what happened to it, but there's a public comment on 210. I'll show it to you. 210.4, 250.4, I think it is. 250. Well, that's chapter 1. Chapter 2. 250.4. I think it's 4. Yeah, there it is, Joe Andres. So he says the overcurrent device shall open within the instantaneous rating of a fuse. Fuses don't have instantaneous ratings.
Right.
Or molded case circuit breaker, or the short time rating of an adjustable trip device to eliminate voltage on the faulted conductor in the least amount of time possible with the design parameters of the system.
That's going to be hard to enforce, I think.
It's
but-
hard to enforce, and I wouldn't be able to do any selective coordination.
Right. Yeah, that's
If-
right.
And then what happens if my molded case 2500 amp molded case circuit breaker doesn't have a short time delay?
Yeah.
And so now the fault. I mean, I don't know how you would
Yeah,
absolutely do
that's
that.
going to be tough. We'll see. I don't even know which task group has that. Well, it's probably task group 1. So.
Yeah. All right. Let's take a look. Bidirectional power transfer cannot, in caps, Brian, occur on
So
the
he's yelling.
same
He's
context.
yelling
He's
it.
yelling
Jeez.
of a plug receptacle connector. Can't risk having exposed, energized male pins when current flow. Ooh,
That's true. That's a good point too.
Well, so here's the thing. Oh, watch this. You ready for this? Oh, you're gonna love this. You're gonna say, Tom, tell us how you do. Watch this. Okay, I'm gonna do this. Me, blur, screen. So, me iPad. Oh, I'm not plugged in. Where's my plug? There it is. And let me get this one under. There we go. All right, I'm gonna plug this in. And because I was talking about this with a few people. Now, let's see if I can do me and iPad. I'm up iPad. There it is. All right. All right, so let's do this. Let's say you have a wall. Oh, look at that. That's cool. Let's get rid of that. Let's say I have a wall, and let's say I have a receptacle, and I have a car. Watch this. Okay, this is a car.
Oh, that's a new cyber truck.
It's a Cyber Tom. Okay, and all right. So now I take a plug out of here, and I go to, and this is the EV charger.
Okay.
All right. Now, the EV charger goes back to a circuit breaker. Now, let's say that I put GFCI here, and I can detect a GFCI fault that direction.
Right.
And if I do reverse, let's say I do reverse, I can detect GFCI in that direction.
Oh.
But to Brian's point, that is an unprotected conductor when the current is flowing in that direction.
Yeah.
So that would mean that right here I need GFCI.
Yeah.
Because even if I said, oh, I can detect a fault
Yeah.
in this conductor here with that GFCI, if that opens, I still have
If you have pins.
I have a source right here,
and exposed parts.
and I have exposed parts,
Yeah.
and that's what Brian. Look at that! Isn't that cool?
That is.
Isn't that cool? That is what Brian is talking about, and I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, that's another challenge going to have to deal with.
That is another challenge. So even if we do bidirectional on the GFCI, I still have a problem protecting that conductor. So, and I never thought about that, and that's what I like about these types of dialogues.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, you think you know exactly what you're talking about until someone goes, well, what about, and you go, crap. Now, Willie Snyder says that is already provided by the standard. I don't know what you're,
The product standard, or
so I don't know, Willie, are you talking the standard for the vehicle? Because remember, we're talking about the electric vehicle and not the EV charger. So it can't be related to the EV charger. It has to be an ISA standard for the vehicle, so that the vehicle itself is providing the GFCI protection going to the structure. Because if GFCI is only in here and not at this vehicle, then you're not providing that protection. And what I hear, there is no way that hazard is in the scope of CMP2. But you admit it's a hazard. That's the key. It is a hazard that there is no protection for.
it's not part of the branch circuit, that's for sure. He's
Yeah.
correct there. So it'd be under 14 probably, but now then you're dictating what the manufacturers are putting in their cars.
That's right, and they don't like that at all. And
well,
you
and
can't
I think
govern
it's
it.
outside the scope too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
That would be, yeah, that's an interesting challenge.
It is definitely an interesting challenge. And then Brian says, in reality, the plug is at the EVSE. And he says, a connector body at the electric vehicle. So what? Oh, so that could be.
Make it inherently safe.
Yeah,
Is that what he's saying?
I think, yeah. So
And I don't want to use brand names in front of you guys, but
Yeah.
there's a manufacturer that has those connections where it
it pulls. Yeah,
pulls the
I
pins
think that's
back
Hubble.
in. It's Meltrick.
Meltrick.
Yeah.
Okay. Yep. The Brian, but at the receptacle in the wall, it's a CMP12 issue. We are talking life here, guys. Look, man, it's fired up. These guys are fired up. Look at this, man. We've got Brian says a connector at the body of the EV. Felix Sandoval is saying, true, Brian, but at the receptacle in the wall. And Brian says it's a CMP12 issue. And then finally, Robert's talking that. So I think, though, Brian, if you think about this vehicle here, what I think you could do is if in this cord, whoa, I didn't want to do that. In this cord right here, you could put something right inside the cord that would be the GFCI. So it doesn't have to be in the electric vehicle. You could have a cord that does this. It has a block here, and then it plugs into the vehicle.
Sure.
And then that is the GFCI for looking that way.
Then we could enforce it.
Then you could, yes. Absolutely right. Because then you could require that conductor be there for connecting the boy. All right, so what is Willie's talking? EVSE standard requires personnel protection, and the NEC doesn't govern that. EVSE standard, the electrical vehicle supply equipment, is governed by the NEC. It's the electric vehicle that's not governed by the NEC.
The external wiring, though, is.
Yeah, and you could say the cord is governed.
External wiring.
Is external wiring, yeah. Yep. This is good stuff. What else are you saying? Power, no injuries have. Education power, no injuries have occurred from hardwired EVSE.
Yeah.
Worldwide, there we go. That's the key. You gotta love this stuff. Both sides, see, that got them all fired up, man. Felix is arguing now. What's Felix saying? Felix says both sides, female plug will work safer. So that's what I was just showing here. If you had GFCI on the both sides of that conductor, now your zone of protection, you're looking back, that GFCI could do it. And you reverse power feed through the receptacle and have a GFCI there that protects on that side, so you're covered. But that would be the key. That would definitely be the key. And too bad. You know what? I'm going to invent it. I'm
Are you?
Yeah, I'm going to patent it. I'm going to invent it.
All right. I'll be your secretary.
You'll be my secretary. That's when I'm rich.
Yeah,
when I'm
that's
rich
right.
and famous.
That's right.
I love it. So this week has been very enlightening. And everybody out there who's not here, I mean, you're missing a lot, in my opinion. It's really, I mean, it's expensive.
Yeah, it is. But it's very rewarding if you can get an opportunity to do it.
Yeah. Sit and chat with people out by the coffee pots and sit in there, watch the debates. The presentations are really good too.
Yes.
You know, I just wish in the audience I can ask questions. But you know what you can do is you can catch that person out in the hallway and ask your questions.
Sure. Yeah.
Say, hey, you said this, you said that. All
Because
that good
they're
stuff.
more than willing to answer that because they're in there talking about their product.
Yeah.
And so they're very accommodating.
Yep. Well, this is good. What else what other kind of stuff? We've been going for a little bit now. I'm at 24% battery.
All right.
I'm not sure what battery is left in that, but I should be good all day with that battery. That's that big, it's a 99, I don't know.
Some nice equipment you have.
Yeah, you know what? I have another one here, so I had two cameras, and I thought we were going to have Ryan.
Yeah.
I don't know where he's at. I knew he would cop out on me.
Yeah.
But there's always tomorrow.
Yeah.
There's always tomorrow, and later on tonight. So we can all play with that. Brian says Felix at the wall would be a parallel inlet, so GFCI protection really isn't an issue because bidirectional has to be dual parallel. I'm not sure that one. I'm not sure about that one. Dual parallel. Robert says, chance for Tom to buy lunch at Costco free sample booth. That's exactly right. And if I'm not there, you start without me, Robert. Yeah, I tell you.
So, Brian, the house that you're going to in Florida, is it still standing or did it get washed away?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I hope it's still standing, Brian. I heard you lost your dog a few days ago or something like that, so I'm very sorry for your loss. A pet like that is we get attached to very, very, very well. Very well. Robert says, so no, David Engelhardt, NEC Annex A lists the product standards. Absolutely right. Oh, we got a few thumbs up. I mean, come on, guys, give us the thumbs up, man.
That's right.
We need more of that. So, but I like this interface. You got all the comments. I can bring them over here, and then I can switch. So I got me with my iPad. I've got me fancy. So look, I got this, and I got TD unplugged over there. I got
And you're a technology genius. I can't even schedule a meeting on Teams. So.
It's not hard when you have help, That's what.
Yeah.
Get a little help from your friends, So, well, everybody, we've been going for a while. I think I started at 1:30. We've been going for an hour.
So when will this be? I know it's live now, but are you?
Yeah.
When will it be available for streaming?
It's available as soon as I hit I'm done. It
uploads it.
It's saved up there, so
Does it? Okay.
it's real time saving it up there, so we could watch it
Interesting.
whenever. So yeah, it'll be up there, and we'll see how many people watch the program. We did a pretty good summary of this week, so I think we hit some of the big stuff.
Well, I went home after dinner, or went back to the hotel and subscribed.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
Excellent.
So I'm one of your fans now.
Excellent.
But also Jackson too. So I had to be fair.
Oh yeah.
So-
Ryan has a really good.
Yeah.
Ryan does a great job. And there's the two ladies that were at the bar that called me my name, tell me whatever. I saw them at breakfast this morning.
Oh, really? They're still here, right?
Yeah, they're still here. So they're driving down to the beach, and she said that at 1:30 she was going to go online, and she said she would comment, but she didn't.
She
But
didn't.
yeah,
They got to the beach and they forgot all about
yeah,
us.
I told her, she's, what's funny was she's from Amsterdam, and she said that she was surprised when she comes to the United States that all of our power distribution is above ground.
Yeah.
She goes, where she's from, everything, you don't see any wires above
Yeah.
ground. Everything
We're
is
a little
underground.
behind on that.
Yeah.
You're-
Yep. Oh wait. Oh, here we go. Robert Bryan says, Sebastian, Florida, barely lost power and was north of the tornadoes.
All right, good for you. So you're up in the Panhandle then, huh?
Yeah, he must. Yeah, Sebastian, Florida. I never heard of Sebastian.
No, I haven't either, but I assume
We're gonna
if
have
it's
to
north.
look it up. Give us your address online so that we can display it for everybody and everybody can come over for dinner. I love it. Willie Snyder's still arguing about an outlet. Felix Sandoval says thank you. It's been a pleasure. Thank you, Felix, for joining in. Really appreciate you, brother. And it was great meeting you in Bogota. That's for doggone sure. Yep. And Robert says the beach was GFCI protected. Absolutely. If they're on a marina, if they're in a beach marina,
Yeah.
they've got at
They're
least
good.
they've got GFCI and they've got a GFPE at 100 milliamps and 30 milliamps.
Yeah.
Yes, for shore power. And look at that. I'm going to put another thumbs up. I got to control where that's at because it's right over my face. I got to put it over your face. Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Oh.
I've heard that before.
So David says Sebastian is one halfway up the east coast.
Okay.
All right. Oh, halfway up. So
Way,
that's
way over there.
yeah, yeah. So that's
It's over by St. Augustine, is that what's
Yeah,
over
yeah.
in there?
yeah. St. Augustine's over there. Yeah, I've been there.
Yeah.
Been there. What's the other one? What's the oldest one over there?
Oh. Yeah, what is that?
What is that? It's
Where the Fountain of Youth is? Or
yeah. Yeah, my cousin lives over there.
yeah.
Yeah, but say hello. Brian says, say hello to Ryan and Sherry. Sherry's coming in tomorrow. Ryan was supposed to be here.
Yeah.
He said, he goes, you tell me the time. You tell me the time.
It's Shari, by the way.
It's Shari.
He corrected us last night.
Oh, well, I was a little three sheets. I don't remember too much from last night. All right, I'm due west of Fort Lauderdale, he says.
All right.
That is, Sebastian borders Vero Beach.
Okay.
And it's north boundary.
Nice.
And then David Engelhardt is west of Fort Lauderdale.
Some good baseball down there in the spring.
Oh yeah, yeah. So Brian, when you get your research done on this new refrigerant, Bobby and I are going to come down and we're going to go on your back porch.
And your boat.
And your boat, yeah. And we'll do we'll do a live stream from your boat.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
I think I like that idea. Because I'll have my wireless. I'll bring my Wi-Fi with me. I have a battery, so we'll be perfectly fine.
It's a plan.
Yep. So Willie Snyder says, "Why argue when I am right? Love your show, bro." Oh man.
What I always say, Willie, is I don't argue, I teach.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's and you know what? We can teach even when we're wrong.
Always something to be learned, isn't there?
That's right, because I could say I was testing you. You know, you passed the test. Well, beautiful. I think I'm ready. I'm good to go. Thanks for joining us out there.
Thanks
and
for
thank
inviting
you.
me.
I really
Yeah, it was
appreciate
good.
it. Thank you very much, Bob.
Always enjoy these meetings.
Oh yeah, and we have a lot of fun, and we learn a lot, and we build good friendships.
Yeah.
You know, that's the key. And what is he saying, Bobby? Only ice hockey counts. Goes Bruins. Oh
Wow.
man,
Ice hockey in Florida.
Ice hockey in Florida. Yeah, you can't do that. Robert's from Omaha, and he says it's not the end of nowhere, but he can see it from there. I love it. Well, thank you, David Englehart. Thanks, Brian. Thank you. Oh, look, Jerry O'Connor was still on, and instead of being over here on this side of the camera,
Where he was supposed to be.
he's on that side of the camera.
Yeah.
And then and Willie Snyder says new definition of outlet is coming.
Oh.
All right. So that means that Willie is not going to nitmam the definition. All right, Willie. Make it happen, brother. That's what it's all about. Making it happen.
Brian, good luck down there on your moves.
Good luck, Brian.
In your retirement.
Oh, man. I wish I could retire one of these days.
If you were as rich as Brian, you probably
I
could.
know. Man, he must be. Jeez. That guy walks around and he's like buying this and buying that. But I'll tell you what.
Hubble pays better, I guess, don't they?
I guess so. Yeah. Hubble must pay better. I'm in the wrong business, man. Jeez. All I know is now Frank Say hugs me after every second revision. He's just like, he wants a hug and he smiles and we wave to everybody on the code panel. Brian, you and I never did that. So anyway, guys, thank you, Bobby, and
Enjoyed it.
everybody else. I did too. Now watch, I'm going to press that button and we're going to watch
Felix,
this.
I miss your coffee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you know, I brought a bunch of coffee back from Bogota. Yeah. Oh, man. I had a carry-on, so I put most of my clothes in another bag. I bought a separate bag, like a little duffel.
Yeah.
I put all my clothes in there, and then I filled the carry-on, that luggage. I filled it with coffee.
Yeah.
It was freaking heavy. I put it under, and I put a bottle of rum in there, Zacapa XO. Zacapa XO. And then they also put this, there was this, it's yellow, and it has that anise flavor, like licorice.
Mm-hmm.
It was yellow, and it's really good, but just avoiding early onset of rigor mortis. Oh my God! And Robert from Omaha says, "I'm Johnny Carson, and you're a good Ed McMahon."
Here's Johnny.
Here's Johnny. I love it. Bobby makes a great Ed McMahon. Just saying. He keeps calling me Johnny Carson. That is so freaking funny. All right, everybody. Thanks, everybody. We're going to sign off for real this time. Stay safe and please stay healthy. We'll probably see you either maybe later on today after Ryan gets back or tomorrow, Sunday, sometime on Sunday, maybe right during your favorite football game.
Perfect.
Perfect. Take care, everybody. Stay safe. See ya.